Allan's new ability was both conjuration, manipulation, and emission. He can change his nen to look like a dragon and manipulate it. A golden dragon materialized in front of Allan as his nen surged out of his body. The best thing about the dragon was its ability to fly. The dragon's body was 15 meters long with a 2-meter-long head, so I could carry 2 people easily. This ability is similar to Grandfather's dragon head, Kalito said. Allan smiled faintly as he thought of Zeno's ability. The difference between the two is that the flying dragon is a nen beast, while Zeno was just using manipulation of nen. Of course, Zeno could create a nen beast, but the dragon head wasn't a nen beast. Go to the 1000 mountain range. Allan gave his orders, and the dragon flew. Under Kalito's guidance, they reached the mountain range in 30 minutes. Compared to Kookaroo Mountain, which is 4,000 meters above sea level, the mountain range was way bigger. This place is the Benz Mountain in the 1000 mountain range. It's about 2,800 meters above sea level. The beasts here are saber-toothed tigers and black panthers, Kalito explained. Allan nodded and dismissed his nen beast, then walked up the mountain. How are we going to train here? I just agreed to let you follow me, but I didn't say I will train you. Hearing this, Kalito became a little annoyed and said, You are obviously tricking me. So what? You said that as long as I brought you here, you will call me teacher. But looking at your attitude, it's clear that you don't think of me as a teacher. Teacher Allan, please help me train. Thing. Make a choice. 1. Accept Kalito's request and help her train. Reward, armament hockey, internal destruction. 2. Reject Kalito's request. Reward, 3,000 nen. Allan's eyes lit up. Although he knew armament hockey, he still didn't know how to use emission. And as far as he knows, emission allowed him to hit the target without directly touching them, which is similar to sending a shockwave. All in all, if he masters it, he will become stronger. Allan looked at Kalito and said, Well, I will train you. Thank you, teacher. Kalito didn't hide her joy. After all, Allan's power was obvious. Let's start training, teacher. Kalito couldn't wait. Allan nodded and then made a hand sign, shadow clone. Clone? Seeing Allan's shadow clone, Kalito's eyes opened. Kalito thought that the clone was created by nen, but it was actually a shadow clone created by chakra. Kalito, from now on, I will train you with my clone. Hearing this, Kalito was a little disappointed and said, Are you just using a clone to fool me? Allan said, Don't underestimate my clone, it has half of my power. I will work hard, Kalito said and lowered her head. Then I will go ahead, you can stay here and slowly train. After that, Allan left the current mountain and headed toward the next one, while Kalito stayed with the clone. After agreeing to Kalito's request, Allan directly received the reward from the system. Although he was only training her using a clone, it was still training her, as the system didn't specifically say he can't use one. With this, Allan can focus on his own training while his clone trained Kalito. The next mountain was 5,200 meters above sea level and was the highest mountain in the mountain range. This was also the most dangerous mountain here. Allan decided to master internal destruction of the armament hockey here, and the beast on the mountain were his test subjects. A giant beast appeared in front of Allan suddenly, but Allan raised his hand without panicking and blasted it with a shockwave. Suddenly, the beast was knocked out, and his eyes rolled back, dying in one blow. It's unexpectedly strong. Unlike normal hockey, internal destruction is far stronger and more effective. Moreover, he felt that the longer he trained, the stronger it will grow. It can also be used in other ways. Half a month later, a booming sound was heard on top of a mountain in the mountain range. In the next second, the top of the mountain collapsed and rubble flew in all directions. Amidst the rubble, one person walked out. Allan finished his training after half a month. He raised his armament hockey to a new level. The entire mountain was bombarded by Allan. His power was already at a level that matched Garp. I don't know what happened to Kalito. Allan made a seal and removed the shadow clone. Suddenly, The shadow clone's memories returned to him and he knew where Calido was current at. Nen Beast, Flying Dragon. A huge golden dragon materialized in front of Allan as he jumped atop of it. The dragon soared into the sky toward Calido. Seeing Allan appear, Calido was puzzled. Are you teacher, or his clone? I have removed the clone just now, so of course, I'm your teacher. Hearing this, Calido realized something. Is the training going to end? Well, almost, Allan said. That's it. Calido was reluctant and didn't want her training to end here. But she could do nothing if Allan wanted to go back. From the clone's memories, Allan learned that Calido trained in Nen in the past half a month. Although she was only 10 years old, she has been in contact with Nen since young. Calido mastered the basics of Nen, and her Nen grew stronger as she mastered some advanced techniques. Let's go back, Allan said. After being away for half a month, he estimated that Killua should be out of seclusion. Teacher, thank you for training me in the past half a month. Calido was satisfied with Allan's teaching and respected him. She knew that compared to half a month ago, she was significantly stronger and all of it was thanks to Allan's training. If Allan didn't teach her, she wouldn't improve as much in just half a month. After returning to the Zoldyck family, Calido and Allan went directly to see Silva. Afterward, Allan asked about Killua and Gon. According to Silva, Killua already left with Gon in the past 2 days. Gon and Killua seemed to go to the Heavens Arena. If you want to see them, you can go there. That night, Silva hosted a banquet to thank Allan for training Calido. The next morning, Allan walked out of the testing gate, preparing to leave. However, at the door, Allan saw Calido waiting there. Do you want to go with me? Allan frowned and asked. Teacher is really smart, Calido laughed. Allan glanced at her. The training is over, why are you still calling me teacher? There is a saying, a teacher for a day, a father for life. Teacher, you will always be my teacher, Calido said sincerely. Allan said coldly, I won't buy that nonsense. Upon seeing this, Calido kneeled down and begged Allan. Please, teacher, take me out with you to train. Calido looked at Allan with expectation. Allan was about to refuse, but he heard the system once again. Thing. Make a choice. 1. Accept Calido's request and take her out with you to train. Reward, Specialist Ability, Scarecrow. 2. Reject Calido's request. Reward, 3,000 Nen. For the sake of the reward, Allan had to agree to take Calido with him. Listen, although I will agree to take you with me, you must obey everything I say, otherwise, you will go back. Yes, I will listen to teacher's words, and never disobey any order. Allan nodded. At least she was sincere and humble. He didn't think that Calido would dare to disobey him after knowing how strong he was. By the way, teacher, where are we going now? On the way, Calido asked. To the Heavens Arena, Allan said. Your brother, Killua, and Gon, went there, so let's go see them. Calido raised her head and said, Heavens Arena? I heard that it is a world-famous paradise for fighters. A day later, Allan and Calido arrived at the Heavens Arena, on top of the flying dragon. Teacher, have you been to the Heavens Arena before? Looking at the line of people waiting to register in the lobby, Calido turned her head and asked. Well, of course, I have been here before, Allan said. It looks like a lot of people are here, and some of them are amazing, Calido said. You go register first, after that, you start from the first floor. This is your first stop for training, Allan said. I understand. Calido nodded. After an hour of queuing, Calido successfully registered and became a fighter in the Heavens Arena. The Heavens Arena has 251 floors, and was 991 meters high, making it the 4th tallest building in the world. The weak had no chance of survival in this place. The rules stated that if someone registered for the first time, he or she needs to start from the first level. Outside the first floor's arena, Allan patted Calido on the shoulders and said, Listen well, Calido, since you want to follow me to train, then you have to meet my standards, okay? I see, please tell me, teacher. Calido was curious about the standards Allan talked about. Remember, from now on, I want you to reach the 200th floor without using Nen, only physical strength. Can you do that? I will abide by this rule and reach the 200th floor without using Nen. Hearing Kalito's assurance, Allan nodded. Then, I will go to the 200th floor and wait for you there first. I hope you don't let me down. After saying this, Allan took the elevator toward the 200th floor. Kalito entered the arena where 16 fighting rings were present for contestants. According to the rules, all contestants will first test themselves on the first floor, then the referee will decide which floor they should ascend. Kalito's first match was against Hercules. He won several national championships in a row and was known as the 7th champion. Like Kalito, this is Hercules' first time here. Around the arena, the 7 champions' fans were cheering while looking at Kalito in sympathy. After all, a little kid is going to fight Hercules. Even if the kid was strong, he can't win. Because Kalito was restricted and can't use Nen under the 200th floor, he could only fight with physical strength and skills. Although he had received professional assassination training as a child from the Zoldyck family, Kalito was only 10 currently. When Allan restricted the usage of Nen, it was impossible for her to kill Hercules in one shot. Interesting, I didn't expect to encounter such a strong foe in the first game. The Heavens Arena is really something. Kalito and Hercules started fighting. After a fierce fight, Kalito finally wounded his opponent using an assassination technique and won the fight. You're good, you can advance directly to the 50th floor. The referee held the promotion ticket which allowed Kalito's entry to the 50th floor. After that, Kalito participated in the second game and successfully advanced again. According to the rules, each advancement before the 200th floor was an increment of 10. So each time, Kalito would jump 10 or more floors after one fight. With Kalito's power, reaching the 200th floor without using Nen won't be too hard, it will just take time. It may take a week or a month, but in the end, Kalito can reach the 200th floor. All in all, this is a kind of training for Kalito anyways. At this time, Allan quickly found Gon and Killua. After the two went through their training, they improved greatly. With their current power, they had the qualification to attack and win against floor masters. They already fought 7 matches without losing a single one. According to the rules, they needed another 3 games to win and they can challenge a floor master. During this time, Allan took his time and fought a few matches. Since he was already a floor master and was famous, the matches he participated in were all high-leveled. It's a pity for his opponents since if they weren't fighting him, they had a chance to actually become floor masters themselves. On the other hand, Kalito managed to reach the 200th floor after a month. When Kalito reached the 200th floor, Allan directly appeared in front of him. "Teacher, long time no see," Kalito said full of joy. Allan nodded. "Teacher, I obeyed your rule and fought without using Nen till I reached the 200th floor." I know." Allan nodded without doubting Kalito even a little. "Teacher, what should I do now?" Kalito asked. "After reaching the 200th floor, you should be stronger now. Release your Nen and let me see how strong you've become." "Yes, teacher." Kalito directly released her Nen which exploded out of her body. Allan nodded. "Yes, you have passed the first phase of training. Now, I will teach you the advanced Nen applications. First is Gyo." In the room, Allan explained to Kalito, Gyo is an advanced application of Nen. It works by concentrating Nen on a certain part of the body, for example the eyes, which allows you to see Nen even if it was hidden by In. Hearing this, Kalito asked curiously, "In, what does it do?" In is Zetsu's advanced Nen application, which can hide Nen even when it leaves the body. Hide it outside the body? To put it simply, it hides your Nen from others. And to see an opponent's Nen, you need Gyo. I didn't expect that. There is still so much I don't know about Nen, Kalito said. I will demonstrate it now, Allan said. Okay. Kalito nodded. Allan activated In, and said, "Keep your eyes open, can you see my Nen?" Allan asked. Calido looked closely but didn't see anything and shook her head. I don't see anything. Then, try attacking me with your nen, Allan said. Attacking teacher? Is it really okay to do that? Calido felt that it was rude to attack her teacher and couldn't agree. Allan smiled faintly. It's okay. Do you think that you can hurt me? Okay, here I come. Calido didn't hesitate again and sent a palm strike toward Allan. The next second, Calido felt that she hit a piece of armor and her strike didn't reach Allan. Although she couldn't see Allan's nen, Calido could feel it around Allan's body with her palm. Allan smiled faintly. Yes, this is in. I hid my nen so you can't see it, but it is still wrapping around my body. Awesome, Calido exclaimed. Remember, in a nen battle, all masters would use in, therefore, it's necessary to learn Gyo. I see. Calido nodded. Listen well, I will give you a week. If you can't learn Gyo by the time, then I will send you back to your family. I will definitively learn it in a week. Calido quickly promised as she didn't want to go back just like that. At this time, Gon and Killua won 10 consecutive matches and were ready to fight a floor master. Each floor from the 221st to the 250th is owned by a floor master, which means there are 30 floor master and Allan is one of them. If Gon and Killua wanted to become floor masters themselves, they must challenge 2 floor masters. Only by defeating a floor master can they take his place. Under Allan's suggestion, Gon and Killua decided to challenge 29 of the floor masters, only leaving Allan. Of course, it's impossible for all of the floor masters to be present in the Heavens Arena. Quite a few of them were busy and had no time to accept the challenge. Currently, there are 12 floor masters, including Allan, which leaves 11 floor masters, but only 5 were willing to accept the challenge. However, Gon and Killua needed only 1 floor master, so each will fight one and the other 3 won't take part in the matches. However, these floor masters refused to just leave Gon and Killua go just like that. They believed that since Gon and Killua dared to challenge them, they should be prepared to fight. No matter what others said, the floor masters didn't want to back down, which troubled Gon and Killua. At this time, Allan just happened to be free and said that he will take them on himself. The floor masters heard of Allan's name and knew that he is a floor master like them and he was strong. But they thought that no matter how good he is, he won't be able to fight 3 of them at the same time. On the day of the matches, the building was bustling as people come from everywhere to see the fights. On the ring, Allan was already in place. Opposite to him stood 4 differently dressed men. They were the 221st, 230th, 236th, and 241st floors masters. Allan was calmed even when facing them without feeling any pressure. At this moment, the system sound echoed in Allan's head. Ding. Make a choice. 1. Defeat the 3 floor master. Reward, enhancement type nen ability, Big Bang Impact. 2. Kill the 3 floor masters. Reward, specialist type nen ability, Decomposition. Big Bang Impact? Isn't that Yuvagin's ability? Allan was slightly surprised. Although Yuvagin's ability was strong, with Allan's current power, it's not helpful. Therefore, he chose the second option as he preferred that reward. He is very interested in the specialist's ability. The rules of the Heavens Arena prevented more than a one-on-one fight. However, this wasn't an ordinary match, but a floor master's battle. Therefore, the rules can be changed. How do you want to fight? The 221st floor master stared sharply at Allan and asked. Because we have the number advantage, people will mock us if we win due to it, and we don't want to bully you, so you can choose the rules. The 230th floor master said. The other floor masters had no problem with this. After all, they were quite confident in defeating Allan with their numbers. No matter how Allan fights, it is impossible to win against them all. Therefore, they let Allan decide the rules. As long as he didn't choose something excessive, they will agree. Of course, this seemingly magnanimous behavior was due to their confidence in winning the match. In their eyes, Allan won't win no matter what kind of rule he made. Allan looked at the four of them and smiled, since I'm allowed to make the rules, then in this game, there is no restriction, nothing matters, it will be a life and death match, what do you think? Upon hearing this, the four of them sneered. Everything goes as long as you win, and a life and death match at that? Interesting. In other words, you want to fight to the death with the four of us, until you fall or we do. Allan nodded. In this game, only one side will walk off the ring, the loser will end up in the morgue. Will you accept those rules? Haha, interesting, I have to say, you're crazy. The four were surprised by Allan. A death match was to their advantage in the end, so they didn't object. They didn't think that Allan had the power to actually kill the four of them. Allan stared sharply at the four and said calmly, a piece of advice, you four can have a shot first before I kill you one by one. It's best if you show your best skills right from the start. Otherwise, you will regret not doing so. Hearing Allan's advice, the four floor masters became gloomy. What an arrogant guy. You're alone, and you think you can beat the four of us. Allan sneered, try it and you will know. The fight was about to start. The floor masters surrounded Allan and started their attacks. Allan didn't want to end the match quickly, so he held back and fought them. Bang! 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 All of a sudden, the five figures on the ring flew back and forth with their auras colliding. In terms of physical ability, those four were as strong as Castro. However, even fighting 4-1, Allan was still relaxed. The four floor masters quickly realized that Allan was strong and exceeded their estimations. They decided to go all out to ensure that Allan is the one who will lose in the end. Faced with the full power of the floor masters, Allan got a little serious. Of course, he was only a little serious with physical skills, he still didn't use the stronger abilities and skills. The floor masters decided to use Nen. The floor master of the 221st floor used his ability first. He was an enhancer and the most powerful of the four masters. His fighting style is simple, using his hands as a weapon, and he was good at close combat. His Nen ability can greatly increase his power in a short time, which he called explosive mode. He can last 3 minutes in this mode and his power increases 3 times. Allan wasn't surprised by this at all, instead, he expected it. After all, he faced many enhancers before and knew that their style may seem different, but in the end, it was straightforward with a lot of destruction involved. Right now, this explosive mode of the 221st floor's master was dangerous for anyone else, but unfortunately, he was facing Allan. Therefore, even with triple power, it wasn't enough to defeat Allan. Once the 3 minutes passed, the power boost ended. As soon as it did, Allan killed him with his lightning mode and then turned back. Seeing this, the floor masters became serious. Allan's speed was so fast, they could react at all. Bastard! Seeing the floor master die from a single move in Allan's hands, the 230th floor's master rushed angrily and activated his Nen ability. Suddenly a big sword appeared in his hand and it burst into flames instantly. The Nen used to conjure the sword had a fire property added to it, making the blade lit on fire. Allan didn't move and decisively activated his ice fruit power, countering the flame and freezing the blade instantly. What? Seeing this, the 230th floor's master cried in shock. Allan didn't let this chance go and attacked. Ice Age. Immediately, the entire arena froze and the 3 floor masters turned into ice sculptures. Allan broke the sculptures directly without waiting. Thing. You killed 4 floor masters and completed the task. You received a reward, Specialist Nen ability, Decompose. Through decomposition, the attribute or abilities of the target can be obtained. Allan was extremely satisfied with this ability. However, this ability had its limits as well, as not all things can be decomposed. Moreover, even if he successfully decomposed something, the power he will receive will be limited. On the other side, Killua and Gon's matches were raging like fire. After Allan finished his game, He watched the two of them at the same time on TV. The two of them competed at the same time. Gon's opponent was the 229th floor master. He was also an enhancer like Gon. Gon's ability, the Jajanken, has improved very much in the last training he went through on Whale Island. After a fierce fight, Gon finally defeated his opponent and became the floor master of the 229th floor. Killua's opponent was the 238th floor master, who is an emitter. At this time, Killua mastered his transmutation ability and can change his nen into electric current easily, and with it, he developed a series of moves, such as Lightning Palm, Thunderbolt, and Whirlwind. Killua defeated his opponent without any surprise there and replaced him as the 238th floor master. Since Allan killed 4 floor masters, he was made the 250th floor master while he was the floor master of the 249th floor before. The floor master of the 250th floor was angry at being replaced and challenged Allan to take back his place. Allan was naturally not afraid of him, and after 3 days, the match between the two started. This floor master is called Abyss. He was completely covered in black and only his eyes could be seen. Both Gon and Killua were at the stands watching the match. In addition to them, several floor masters also came to watch the fight. After all, this was a match between two of the strongest in the Heavens arena. The audience exceeded 10,000 on-site and off-site, more than 100,000 viewers off-site. The battle was highly anticipated. Abyss just wanted to defeat Allan and regain his place on the 250th floor. As for Allan, he won't just let go of his status, but he also wanted to see how strong Abyss was. Above the ring, Abyss activated his nen. Immediately, a large amount of black mist gushed out of his body. In the blink of an eye, the black mist covered the entire arena and enveloped Allan as well. For a while, the audience could see nothing of the battle on the stage. On the ring, Allan, who was shrouded in black mist, was also unable to see anything with his eyes. As for Abyss, he took advantage of this and waited for an opportunity to launch a surprise attack at Allan. Allan didn't move at all. Although he can't see with his eyes, it didn't mean he can't see where Abyss was. However, Allan wasn't in a hurry. He quietly used his observation hockey. In an instant, he locked into Abyss. Thor. 1. Allan opened his hand and a bolt of lightning slammed into the Abyss's body. Abyss screamed as the black mist disappeared. The power of the Rumble Fruit already bombarded him without giving him a chance to attack. 2 days later, Kaluto found Allan and said, "Teacher, I have learned Go as you asked." Allan smiled and said, "So, now I will give you a second training goal." "What is the new goal?" "In a month, win at least 3 games on the 200th floor." "I see, I will go arrange for a match now. I will accompany you." Accompanied by Allan, Kaluto arrived at the registration desk and arranged a match. After registering for the game, Allan took Kaluto and went to Killua's floor, the 238th floor. Killua, who became the floor master, had a large luxurious guest room and a large training room. Seeing Allan walking with Kaluto, Killua was surprised. "Kaluto, why are you here?" "I brought him here." "No, to be precise, he asked me to bring him here," Allan explained. Killua nodded. "So, you are training with Allan now?" "Well, yes, please give me some advice in the future, brother," Kaluto said. "I really got goosebumps when I heard you call me brother." Killua shrugged. In the Zoldyck family, the sibling wasn't that intimate with each other. If you want to talk about who's his closest sibling, Killua would say it was Iluka. Next would come to Maluki, and then Kaluto, with Illumi coming last. "Brother, let's fight," Kaluto said suddenly. "Fight me? Why?" Killua was puzzled. "I want to see the power gap between us," Kaluto explained. Hearing this, Killua looked at Allan and asked, "There shouldn't be a problem, right?" "Yes, you two can compete however you want, I have no objection." With Allan's consent, Killua looked at Kaluto and said, "Well, let's go." "I will do my best," Kaluto said seriously. The two arrived in the center of the training area, with Allan being the referee of this match. After a fierce fight, the result was within Allan's expectation, as Caleto unsurprisingly lost to Killua. "Brother, you are much stronger than before." Although Caleto lost, she felt that the battle gave her a good experience. "I have gone through a very hard training course to achieve my current power. Although you lost, Caleto, sooner or later you will become like me and even stronger," Killua said. "Well, I will train hard and catch up with you as soon as possible," Caleto promised. The next day, while Caleto was participating in the match, Allan received a phone call. The person who called him was Netero, who only said one sentence. "The location of the Ant King has been found." After Caleto's game was over, Allan talked with her. "I have something that I need to do. During this time, you should stay in the Heavens Arena and train hard." Although Caleto didn't want Allan to leave, she had to listen to his words and stay here. After that, Allan found Killua and Gon again. "Listen you two, I'm going to do something big this time. Do you want to come with me?" Upon hearing this, the two of them asked in unison, "What's this big thing?" "The location of the Ant King has been found. I'm going to ask Chairman Netero to fight with the Ant King. What do you think? Is it a big deal?" "Asking to fight the Ant King? That's a super big deal. Can you really take us there?" Gon asked. "Of course, your power has improved greatly and it's time for some real combat training. Your task will be killing the king's subordinates." "Will you fight the Ant King yourself?" Killua asked. "The chairman and I will take responsibility for that," Allan said. "Then let go." Gon couldn't wait. "Well." Allan nodded and activated his flying dragon. In the next second, the golden dragon appeared in front of them. "That's just like Grandpa's dragon, it can fly right?" Killua asked. Allan nodded. "Well, let's hurry to the Hunter Association." After more than half a day of flying with Gon and Killua on the flying dragon, Allan finally reached the headquarters of the Hunter Association. Led by Mr. Bean, Netero's secretary, all of them went to Netero's office. Netero was reviewing some documents and seeing Allan bringing Gon and Killua, he was a little surprised. "Oh? You two are here as well? This old man remembers you, you're Killua, and you're Gon, right?" It's not the first time Gon and Killua saw Netero, so they weren't surprised. "Hello, Grandpa Chairman." Gon took the initiative to greet Netero. Killua had his attitude and wasn't respectful at all as he spoke. "Hi, old man, it's been a long time." "Haha, funny little kids." Netero was amused by the names those two gave him. "Chairman, I will bring those two with me. You won't get angry, will you?" Allan asked. Hee, this old man isn't that stingy." Netero grinned. "Grandpa Chairman, we are here to help," Gon said. "Yes, old man, when we were in the NGL, we followed Kite to fight the Chimera Ants. We have some experience in that area. Although we went back because we weren't strong enough, we trained a lot and became a lot stronger now, so we can help," Killua said. Allan also said, "Chairman, the two of them are indeed stronger now. If you don't believe me, you can check their current strength." Hearing this, Netero's eyes squinted and carefully looked at Gon and Killua. Netero looked at Gon and Killua intently and said, "If you want to follow Allan, this old man needs to test your power." Hearing this, Gon and Killua nodded at the same time and said, "No problem." "Now, release your nen and let me see how far have you got in your training," Netero ordered. Gon and Killua looked at each other and then released their nen in a horse stance. Immediately, their nen burst out of their body like flames. Netero smiled slightly and said, "Yes, it seems like you two have indeed become stronger. From your nen, I can feel your vitality. The vitality symbolizes youth, something this old man lacks." "Yes, after all, you're over 100 years old already," Killua commented. "Chairman, now that you've seen our power, can we follow along?" Gon asked with expectation. "Since you want to tag along, then you can come," Netero agreed. Seeing Netero agreeing, Allan said, "Chairman, it shouldn't be too late, so let's go now." Netero nodded and said, "Well, The airship should be prepared outside, let's take it and go. Good, Allan agreed. Originally, he intended to conjure the flying dragon directly, but since there is an airship, that's better. On the airship, Allan said, Chairman, where is the Ant King right now? Netero replied, according to reports from Kite and Morel, the Ant King is in a place called Republic of East Gordo. Republic of East Gordo. Netero said, it's a small country, its leader is named Ming Jolit. According to our investigations, Gordo's army was completely wiped out, even its commander, Ming Jolit, is dead. The Ant King is in charge of that place right now. Hearing this, Allan frowned slightly. It seems that the Chimera ants that were almost eliminated by me in the NGL were revived again under the leadership of the Ant King. I don't know how many they have right now or how far they multiplied. This time, we must eliminate them, Netero said. After more than 10 hours of flying, Allan and his team arrived at their destination. Allan, Netero, Gon, and Killua descended from the airship. Where are we? Killua asked after looking around. This is the forest at the border of the Republic of East Gordo, Netero replied. Where are Kite and the others right now? Gon asked. Netero took out a map and handed it to Allan and said, this is Gordo's map, Kite and the others are currently hiding here. Netero pointed at a town on the map. In that case, we should rush over and join them, Killua said. Allan looked at the map and said, there are 2 routes from here to that town, one is from the mountain, and the other is following this river. If we take the mountains road, we must pass through various towns on the way. The entire trip is about 350 kilometers, if we walk, we'll need 2 days to get there. If we speed up, we can cover the distance in a day, and going at full speed, it will take half a day. Netero said, let's take the mountain road, let's speed up a little and try to get there by tomorrow night. Then again, why don't we just go there with the airship? Gon asked in confusion. Kite reported that the Chimera ants controlled most of the country. If we use the airship, we will be spotted easily. Therefore, we need to take this path ourselves as to not draw the enemy's attention to us. Gon nodded and stopped asking. Allan said, then, let's set off now, I will take the lead. The group of 4 started moving toward their destination. When passing through any urban areas, if there are Chimera ants' nests, we destroy them as quickly as possible, Allan said. Netero replied, for me to fight the Ant King, I need to save as much energy as possible. Gon and Killua can deal with those soldiers. No problem. Killua and Gon nodded eagerly at the same time since they wanted to fight as soon as possible. After 2 hours, Allan and his group arrived at a city in the north of Gordo. It was 3 a.m., and the entire city was shrouded in darkness. Strange, why is there no one here? On the road, Gon couldn't help wondering. It wasn't just Gon who had his doubt, but the other 3 as well. Although it's late, humans should be asleep at this time, but Allan and the other didn't feel anything from the buildings at the moment. The city seemed dead. Allan looked at Netero and said, either they were all killed, or the Chimera ants took them as livestocks. Allan and all, let's meet Kite and Morel. They should be familiar with the current situation, Netero said. At this moment, Killua, who was paying attention to the movement ahead, said, they're here, the Chimera ants. Allan and the others looked and saw a group of Chimera ants from the corner of the street ahead. But they were just ordinary soldiers without any strong ones. What do we do? Killua asked. Of course, we kill them, Gon said. Killua, you deal with those soldiers, and Gon, stay around and help if it's needed, Allan instructed. No problem. Killua nodded. Gon was puzzled, why don't I attack as well? It's just a dozen of those ants, Killua should be enough to deal with them, you preserve your energy for later, Allan explained. Hearing this, Gon didn't complain, I understand, Killua, go ahead and deal with them. Well, I will deal with them quickly. In the next second, Killua activated his gut speed, and his whole body flushed with the electric current before he disappeared. The chimera ants patrolling just noticed Killua in front of them. The snake awakens. With the help of Godspeed, Allan displayed one of his old AK family's assassination technique as he waved his hands and dismantled the chimera ants. It only took Killua 10 seconds to get close to the chimera ants and kill them. Impressive, Gon said with admiration. Ha ha ha, Killua's Nen ability looks good. He turns his Nen into electric current, quickening his movement and reflex, coupled with his old AK's assassination techniques, makes it even more dangerous, Netero laughed. It's really good. Allan smiled with satisfaction at Killua's performance. After solving the chimera ants, the four continued to advance. Not long after, they encountered another patrol team. Let's do the same, Killua, you deal with them, Allan said. In the next second, Killua attacked the patrol team and killed them without giving them a chance to report back. Just as they were about to continue forward, an angry roar sounded. You intruders, stop! The four stopped and looked at the source of the sound. At the end of the street, a monster with a human face blocked its way. Behind the monster, there were 30 or 40 chimera ants. It looks like a big fish is here, Netero said. It's a pity that they aren't strong enough for me to make a move. Looking at that guy's aura, it should be a squadron leader. Killua, same rules, go deal with him, Allan said. Is it a squadron leader? No problem then. Killua stood up, ready for action. At this moment, Gon stood up and said, Killua, leave it to me this time. Hearing this, Killua looked at Allan asking for his opinion. Allan nodded and said, no problem, Gon has also become stronger. Since he wants to deal with them, let him do so. Well, Gon, you can destroy this squadron leader and I will deal with the ant soldiers. Killua shrugged. Here I go. Gon directly released his Nen and rushed forward. Killua followed behind. Netero was enjoying the show in front of him. Well, this is good, Netero laughed. When Gon and Killua rushed forward, the squadron leader shouted angrily, Intruders, I will kill you. The squadron leader released his Nen and attacked. The aftermath of the fight destroyed all the buildings on the side. After a few minutes of fighting, Gon gained the upper hand and firmly suppressed the squadron leader. Gon, end the battle, Killua said not far away with dozen chimera ants corpses around him. Gon nodded and said, then, I will end the fight in the next attack. Gon took his Jijankan stance. As a large amount of Nen poured into his fist, dazzling light exploded out of it as he punched the squadron leader. The squadron leader could do nothing and he was punched and exploded. Gon, your Jijankan is something, Killua said. Killua, you're too fast yourself. Gon complimented. Okay, you two, don't start inflating your ego, we should move ahead, Allan said. Allan and his party continued on their way. After half an hour, they passed the city and moved toward the next town. After reaching another city, Allan activated his observation hockey, covering 1 kilometer. Even if someone is hiding in the building, he can't escape Allan's detection. Soon enough, Allan discovered a group of ants inside a building. Not only that, there are humans inside as well. Follow me. Allan walked toward one of the buildings. Gon, Killua, and Netero followed behind. Soon, Allan found a group of chimera ants, with humans locked inside iron cages with hundreds of bones piled up outside. Around the hall, 30 or 40 chimera ants were gnawing on the bones. Seeing this, Allan snorted and activated his rumble fruit and fried the ants. Damned human being, who are you? An angry voice sounded as a chimera ant glared at Allan. The ant didn't wait for a response as he condensed Nen on his horns and attacked with a beam. In the next second, an energy beam turned black and headed toward Allan. Allan snorted coldly as he pointed his finger ahead. 30 million volt, Vari. A lightning bolt collided with the energy beam, overpowered it and blasted at the ant's body. The chimera ant's horn was destroyed and the lightning killed him. There were still survivors in the city, and only a few days ago did the ants arrive here. They put the humans in iron cages and ate them one by one. If Allan and the others didn't come here soon, all the humans would have been eaten. Allan guessed that the last city encountered the same situation here and they were late to save anyone. They were either eaten or locked up and transported away. As for where they were transported, it should be to the Ant King. After all, as their king, the Chimera Ants had to give part of their spoils to him. At this time, Gon, Killua, and Netero rushed over. Allan explained what he found and then walked out of the building. "Let's keep going." "What about those people?" Gon asked. "We still have things to do, we can't take them away, let them leave by themselves. I dealt with the Chimera Ants here anyway." Gon didn't complain as he looked at the rescued humans and said, "This country has been occupied by monsters, you should run away and don't come back." The party continued forward and soon passed another city. The same happened here as a large number of residents were captured and locked up, or were already eaten. This time, Allan didn't make a move himself, he just let Gon and Killua deal with the ants. The two cooperated. Killua would deal with the soldiers and Gon would deal with the squadron leader. Killua was faster, so he can deal with the soldiers quickly, while Gon would deal with the squadron leader with a well-placed punch. After that, the party continued forward to the next city, and the process continued as they eliminated the Chimera Ants on their way till they join Kite and Morel, then attack the Ant King. When dawn broke, Allan and his party reached the last town before joining with Kite and his group. However, as soon as they reached this town, they were surrounded. There were more than 400 Chimera Ants stationed there, including 4 squadron leaders. At this moment, each squadron leader led 100 Chimera Ants and surrounded Allan's party. The Chimera Ant leading this operation was sitting in the rear. If Allan and the others moved forward, they need to deal with the Chimera Ant soldiers. "Hee, do you want this old man to take action?" Netero asked. When he saw the Chimera Ants number, he suggested dealing with them himself. Allan shook his head indifferently and said, "Gon, Killua, Chairman, don't do anything, I will deal with them in an instant." "Oh? How will you do that?" Netero was a little curious. "To get rid of the Chimera Ant soldiers quickly, you would need a strong long-ranged attack like my grandfather's dragon head or my father's explosion orbs," Killua said. "I'll freeze them," Allan said lightly. "Freeze them? Can you do it?" Netero exclaimed in surprise. "No problem," Allan said seriously. "When I count to 3, jump to avoid being frozen." "Understood." Gon and the others replied. When Allan said 3, Gon, Netero, and Killua jumped up. Allan directly activated his devil fruit and said coolly, "Ice Age." In the next second, with Allan as the center, 5 kilometers of land froze. The Chimera Ants surrounding them, along with the leaders, didn't have time to react as they froze. "Wow, that's amazing, everything froze in an instant." Netero and the other landed on the ground and were amazed by Allan's power. "Let's continue," Allan said nonchalantly. The group continued toward the next town and after 3 hours, they arrived at Kite and his party's location. "Where's Kite and the others?" Gon asked. "Well, we may need to search for them, this old man isn't sure," Netero replied. "Chairman, besides Kite, who are the others joining us?" Killua asked. "Beside Kite, there are Morel, and his student, partner Nov, along with his students, Knuckle and Shoot. There are also the food hunter Menki, and Buara. Oh, there is also one of the 12 zodiacs." Killua commented, "So, there are 8 people on Kite's side now, and 4 on our side, in total there are 12. 12 people going to destroy the Chimera Ants and their king, is there any chance of winning?" "I don't know, probably 50% chance. As long as the king is killed, the other ants won't matter," Allan explained. "That's right, but the Ant King should be very strong, can Chairman deal with it alone?" Killua asked. "Don't worry Killua, if the Chairman can't do it, there is Allan," Gon said. "Oh, you're right." Killua nodded and wasn't worried anymore. Let's look for Kite and the others now, Allan said. This place is quite big, it won't be easy to find them, Netero said. Let me do it. Allan released his observation hockey, covering over 2 kilometers with his at the center. Allan suddenly found a few auras, but it seems like they belonged to the same person. The next second, Allan saw dozens of white humanoid objects appear around them. Well, those are? That's Morel's Nen ability, Purple Haze Soldiers. Netero recognized it at a glance. Which means, Morel is nearby. Sure enough, Allan soon felt familiar auras coming toward them. They're coming, Allan said. Soon, a tall figure rushed over, which was Morel. Chairman? Seeing Netero, Morel was stunned for a moment, then laughed. Haha, Chairman, you're finally here. Morel, where are Kite and the others? Netero asked. Kite is in Nov's 4-dimensional mansion, he is injured, Morel said. Injured? Morel's words made Netero and the others frown. How did Kite get injured? Is it serious? Gon asked. He is injured from fighting the Chimera ants, and he didn't wake up yet. When did he get injured? Allan asked. Yesterday, Morel replied. Morel, what about the others? Netero asked. Everyone is hurt, but it's not a big problem. They weren't seriously injured, and currently they are recuperating inside Nov's 4-dimensional mansion. It's just... Just what? Netero asked. Unfortunately, one of us died, Morel sighed. Who died? Netero asked gloomily. Buara, Morel replied. Hearing Morel stating that Buara died, Netero, the chairman of the Hunter Association, sighed sadly. Morel, what happened? Allan asked in a deep voice. Gon and Killua also cast a curious glance at Morel. They both wanted to know what kind of enemy did Kite and Buara fight. Morel took his pipe and took a few puffs before saying slowly, it was yesterday, Kite and I. A few minutes later, Allan and the others finally understood what happened and how Kite was injured. It turned out that yesterday, Kite and the others were surrounded by Chimera ants when they were trying to rescue the residents of the area. So Kite and the other fought against the ants and eliminated a lot of soldiers, but a powerful ant appeared. He was called Caesar. Even Kite was no match for him head-on. During that battle, Kite was injured. In addition to Caesar, several powerful squadron leaders appeared, which caused Knuckle, Shoot, and Menki to suffer. The situation was serious, and if they don't escape, they will have to face a whole army. At that moment, the key member for their escape, Nov, was scared senseless by the aura released by Caesar, thus losing their chance to escape. Originally, with Nov's ability, they could enter the 4-dimensional mansion quickly when they were surrounded, but no one expected Nov, a professional hunter, to have such poor psychology. Just by the powerful aura of his enemy, he froze and lost the ability to fight or even the courage to escape. This mistake was a fatal blow to Kite and the others. In order to prevent everyone from dying and give the others a chance to escape, Buara self-destructed, injuring Caesar. Nov, who witnessed Buara's self-destruction, was deeply shocked and finally calmed down from his fear and activated his Nen ability, bringing everyone along and fleeing. Buara is a hero, Gon said after listening to Morel. Yeah, that fat man is indeed a man, Killua said in admiration. He saw Buara in the Hunter exam. Although he wasn't familiar with him, he admired his self-sacrifice to save everyone. Because of his heroic sacrifice, Kite and the others managed to escape. That's what an excellent professional hunter should be like, Netero sighed. Allan sighed and said, don't worry, we're here now, no one will need to sacrifice himself. Morel nodded, he believed that Netero and Allan were strong. The former was the chairman of the Hunter Association, and one of the strongest men in the world, while the latter is a rising star that killed 2 royal guards and nearly wiped the ants from existence. With them here, even if there are powerful monsters on the Chimera ant side, they can fight them. Soon, under Morel's guidance, Allan, Netero, Gon, and Killua entered Nov's 4-dimensional mansion. Kite was lying on the bed with a place face. Kite was hit by an aura bomb fired by Caesar. He is still in a coma. I don't know when he will wake up, Morel said. Allan, is there a way to save Kite? Gon turned his head and asked. Ding. Make a choice. 1. Promise Gon that you will help save Kite. Reward, fire release, great fire annihilation. 2. Don't save Kite, saying you can't do it. Reward, 1000 nen point. Even if the system didn't give him a reward, he planned on saving Kite. But since there is a reward, he would take it anyways. Allan activated his holy blessing of light. Golden light flickered out of him and an angel manifested. Master, what's your order? Raphael, help me save my friend, he is injured and unconscious, Allan said. Understood. Soon, under the healing effect of Raphael, Kite, who was in a coma, slowly opened his eyes. Kite, are you alright? Gon asked from the side. Kite smiled, his body fully healed. Thanks, Allan, you saved me again, Kite said. It's nothing, don't worry about it. Allan smiled. Although it cost him a lot of energy to wake Kite up, it was worth it. Moreover, he even got the Great Fire Annihilation technique. After Kite recovered from his injuries, Allan asked him about the ant named Caesar who injured him. Originally, after the NGL extermination team finished their mission a month ago, almost all Chimera ants were wiped out. Except for the Ant King, there shouldn't have been any powerful ants. But they miscalculated, as the Chimera ants they encountered yesterday made them understand that in addition to the king, there are other terrifying ants. The monster named Caesar had an aura similar to the 2 guards we encountered in the NGL before, Kite said seriously. Hearing this, Allan frowned. As far as he knew, the Ant King had 3 guards in total, Pito, Yuppie, and Poof. As early as 2 months ago, Allan killed Pito and then Yuppie in the NGL. But according to Kite's description, the ant called Caesar is as strong as the guards. It seems that in 2 months, new guards were born. That monster named Caesar should be a new guard to replace the other 2. New guards? Kite was surprised. Allan said, as far as I know, there were originally 3 guards, and I killed 2 of them in the NGL. Logically, there should be only 1 left. But it seems that another guard was born. So how many guards do you think they have now? Kite asked. There should be 3, in addition to Caesar, there should be another 1 replacing one of the dead guards. Allan guessed. Among the Chimera ants, only the queen can give birth, so the queen is alive, Kite said seriously. Allan nodded. The tricky problem is that if the queen isn't killed, the Chimera ants won't go extinct. Even if you kill a monster like Caesar, it will take a long time to give birth to a new one. To completely eradicate their colony, the queen should be killed. That's right. Kite thought so as well. Morel said, the queen has the ability to give birth, which means, it is like a mother to all ants and it won't be easy to kill it. Don't worry, I will be the one to kill the queen. Then, I will leave it to you, Kite said. Before we act, we must first understand the current situation. Allan looked at Kite and asked, how long do you think it will take to sneak in and investigate? I infiltrated this place 10 days ago, and at first, I was alone. When I found the Chimera ants invaded here, I asked for Morel and the others' support. So, in these 10 days, you are clear about the current situation of the Chimera ants? Allan asked. Yes. Kite nodded before he started explaining the current situation. According to him, Gordo was occupied by the Chimera ants king, and hundreds of towns fell under his soldiers. There were 5 million citizens in this country, and hundreds of thousands became food to the ants. A few fled and hid in the mountains, but all in all, Gordo became a nest for the Chimera ants. What do we do now? Killua asked. Destroy them, of course. Knuckle clenched his fist and shouted. Yes, we must kill all of them, and we must not let them harm any more people. This time, we must wipe them out completely, without letting anyone go, Kite said. The question is, how to eliminate them. You know, they have at least Tens of thousands of them occupying the country, is it really possible with just us? Menki expressed her concern. Do you want to get some backup from the association? Morel asked. It would be a good idea to ask the 12 zodiacs to come here, Nav said. Kite looked at Netero and asked, Chairman, you are the president of the association, please give instruction. Netero laughed and said, this time, I'm only here for the Ant King. As for the other ants, I can only leave them to you guys. Before the duel with the king, I must try my best to stay out of fights, so I can meet the king in my best state. So if you want me to help, I can't help at the moment. As for returning to the association to find the 12 zodiacs, it can't be done, those guys don't want to risk their lives like this. Netero then looked at Allan and said, as for what to do now, it's up to you, Allan. You're letting my command? Isn't this bad? Allan asked. Netero smiled, he, Allan, don't decline. Now, please take my place to command this team. Hearing this, Allan no longer shied away and nodded, well, I will be in command of this operation then. He looked at Kite and the others and asked, do you have any objection? Naturally, they had none. Even though Allan was young, he was the strongest out of them. In some eyes, like Kite's, Allan may very well be stronger than Netero already. There shouldn't be any problem under his command. Then, let's discuss our plan, Allan said seriously as if he was a general. After that, Allan gathered everyone and started formulating a plan. Judging from the current situation, we must first destroy the chimera ants in the surrounding towns one by one, and rescue the residents. After that, we form a net and surround the king's palace step by step, before finally attacking their base. Kite and the others didn't have an objection to Allan's plan, so he continued. First, we're going to separate ourselves into groups of 2. After some discussion, the teams formed were, Allan, Menki are the first team, Kite, Gon, and Killua, the second team, Netero and Nav, the third team, and finally, Morel, Knuckle, and Shoot are the fourth team. After forming the teams, Nav opened his fourth-dimensional mansion for everyone to get out. After that, each team went in a different direction. As a team leader, Allan was first to take action, so he directly set off toward the eastern city with his partner, Menki. Although Gordo was a small country, there were hundreds of towns inside it, though there didn't have big cities. But because there are a lot of them, it's a waste of energy for Allan to liberate every last of them. However, to eradicate the chimera ants, this has to be done. Their goal is to not let any chimera ant escape. On the other side, inside the palace, Meryuan was playing chess with a young girl with a runny nose. The Ant King has a high talent for learning, and in a short period, he defeated famous chess players in Gordo, until he encountered this girl. He suffered his first ever loss. At the same time, a few hundred kilometers away, Allan brought Menki to the eastern part of the country. The town here was gloomy with no one around. The chimera ants invaded this town. To quickly wipe out the ants, Allan directly released his aura to attract them out. This is amazing, and it's emitted by a human. Is it an intruder? A few kilometers away from Allan, a creature with a sharp horn suddenly looked back. Even though it was far away, it could feel Allan's aura. This ant is called Sark, a squadron leader, and was dispatched a week ago by Poof to this town. Today, it rules the town with 300 other ants under it. After feeling Allan's aura, it was provoked. This human is deliberately releasing his aura, he wants to attract our attention. Humph, it seems like he is confident in his power. Sark laughed instead of being angry. Soon all 300 soldiers ants gathered around him. Let's go kill the intruder. Sark gave the order and the troops moved toward Allan. The ants were territorial. Since someone invaded their territory, they won't tolerate them. On the other side, after releasing his aura, Allan quickly noticed the chimera ants rushing toward him. A few minutes later, the soldiers led by Sark appeared. The prey followed my aura, Allan said with a smile. There are quite a few of them, a few hundreds maybe? Menki said. The one in front should be their leader. Allan's eyes locked at Sark. At this moment, Sark released his aura. Interesting, let's see how strong he is. Allan was ready to attack. However, at this moment, Menki said, Allan, can you let me start the first battle? Why? Allan wondered. If it's him fighting, he can guarantee that the fight will end quickly. Because, you are our trump card, you have to preserve your strength for following battles. Is that good enough reason? Menki said. Thing. Make a choice. 1. Be a bystander and let Menki kill the Chimera ants. Reward, 1,000 demon daggers. 2. Let Menki watch the battle as you destroy the group of Chimera ants. Reward, Mato, Shigure. Allan took the first option, not because of the 1,000 demon daggers, but because he couldn't refuse a woman's request. Then, you settle the first battle. If you can't handle it, I will interfere, Allan said. He was also curious about Menki's way of dealing with several Chimera ants. Well, look closely, I will get rid of all those ants, Menki said confidently. In fact, as a one-star hunter, Menki wasn't weak. She once went into some dangerous places in the world seeking delicacies and encountered countless life and death situations. In other words, she already had enough power to deal with strong foes. In addition, she had a good head above her shoulders. Allan received his reward from the system and took it out. The 1,000 demon daggers is a sword that can separate its razor-sharp shards and control them telekinetically. Menki noticed the sword in Allan's hand but didn't think much. She had to focus on her enemies. There is about 300 Chimera ant, and they were 100 meters away from Allan and Menki. It's time, at such a close distance, they won't be able to escape. Immediately, Menki activated her Nen ability. The Nen in her body was like red flames as she shouted, "Come out!" In the next second, a huge dark red iron gate appeared on the street. The gate was filled with drawings of demons. The red gate slowly opened and Allan narrowed his eyes. Is something coming out? Then, he saw a creature with 3 heads walking out of the gate. This is? Allan was surprised when he saw the monster. That's Cerberus, the 3-headed dog of hell, Menki said. Menki's Nen ability is called Hell's Gate. As its name suggests, she can open a gate and summon demons from hell. However, each summoned demon will be different. Sometimes, only a weak demon is summoned, and sometimes it was a powerful monster. This time, she summoned the 3-headed dog, Cerberus. Go, Cerberus, they are your food. Menki pointed at Sark and the other ants and issued her orders to the 3-headed dog. With a roar, Cerberus rushed out quickly. At the end of the street, Sark sensed danger in the Cerberus jumping up. It's too late for the soldiers to dodge, but Sark dodged. Each time it had bit on the ants, it would at least swallow half of it and the second bite will completely devour it. The Cerberus was like a hungry wolf running into a group of sheep, devouring them one by one. The ants tried to fight back, but they weren't strong enough. They were indeed stronger than normal humans, but at the moment, they were facing a demon from hell, which is a monster more terrifying than them. The attacks of the ant soldiers were tickling Cerberus instead of dealing damage. In just 2 minutes, hundreds of ants were eaten. Sark, the squadron leader, looked at the remaining soldiers and roared angrily, "Cut off its head for me." Amongst the soldiers, there were some good seedlings, stronger than normal soldiers at the same rank, and their attack can break through Cerberus' defense. However, they could only do so little before they are killed by the dog. The soldiers couldn't kill the 3-headed dog from hell, because they're not on the same level. I will do it myself. Sark jumped up and appeared above one of Cerberus' heads. He relied on his superior physical power and swords-like arms to attack the dog. Sark successfully cut off one of the dog's heads and retreated. Did I succeed? After the attack, Sark cautiously looked at the dog. However, in the blink of an eye, the Cerberus head which was cut off started recovering at a great speed. What? Sark staring at this scene in disbelief. Damn it. Let me see how many heads you can grow. Sark shouted angrily, his hands turning into blades as he slashed at Cerberus. One of Cerberus' heads attempted to bit Sark. Sark swung his bladed hands, blocked the huge fangs, and then jumped back while chopping off another head. As expected, the severed head grew back once again. Sark snorted coldly and waved the blades, sending a sharp energy attack and cutting two heads. However, the same as before, the heads grew back almost instantly. Sark didn't give up and kept on cutting the Cerberus heads. But, after a while, he was knocked down by the Cerberus. Before he could get up, the Cerberus already opened one of its mouths and took a bite. Immediately afterward, Sark screamed as he was devoured by the Cerberus. With this, the Chimera ants in this town were completely wiped out. After that, Allan and Mankey spend half an hour looking for and rescuing the residents of this place. On the other hand, Kite's team and Morel's team were having their first fight. Nav was just letting the ants enter his fourth-dimensional mansion and handing them over to Netero to solve. After 2 days, Allan and the other had almost freed all town, eliminated thousands of Chimera ants, and saved millions of people. Afterward, they gathered together and were ready for the attack on the Ant King. However, before that, they went back inside the fourth-dimensional mansion to adjust their mental state before the fight. According to the information they had, the Ant King lived in the palace inside Gordo's capital. At this time, the Ant King, Meruem, was still playing chess with Komugi. The Ant King was extremely focused on the game as he wanted to win against this girl. Every time he was about to win, Komugi would turn the table around and win the game. This made Meruem understand one thing: there are many kinds of strength out there. For example, Komugi was extremely strong in chess, but she was physically strong. But the king still felt that his kind of strength is the best. "Your Majesty." At this moment, a shout broke Meruem from his train of thoughts. "What's the matter?" The king looked at the one making a report and asked. It was one of the king's guards. "Poof. King, among the humans who came this time, there are some who are very strong, and the troops we sent out to support the various towns were wiped out. We're running out of soldiers. The humans are expected to attack the palace soon." After hearing this, Meruem's face turned gloomy and snorted coldly, "Mere humans dared to come to attack this king, they are seeking their own doom." "Your Majesty, what should we do? Please give your orders," Poof asked. Meruem replied, "Don't they want to kill this king? Then let them come, and this king shall wait for them in this place. I want them to understand what a real ruler is. With your Majesty making a move yourself, those humans won't stand a chance," said another guard beside Poof. "He is the new guard replacing Pito, and his name is Naro. Other than him, there is also the guard named Caesar." "BTW, where did Caesar go?" asked the Ant King. "He is guarding outside the palace, Your Majesty," Poof replied. "Then send out my orders. Destroy every human who comes here to attack us. Don't let them take even half a step into the palace." "Yes, we will definitively eradicate those humans," Poof replied as he knelt on the ground. Meanwhile, inside Nav's fourth-dimensional mansion, Allan and the others were discussing the plan for the final attack on the ants. "Nav, is there an exit inside the palace?" Nav shook his head and said, "The palace is covered by the other parties, so I couldn't set an exit there. However, I have set up an exit in the woods a few kilometers away from the palace." Allan nodded and said, "Then, let's check our plan for the last time. The operation will start at 9 p.m., and currently, it was 8:50 p.m. In the forest, a few kilometers away from the royal palace, a black hole suddenly appeared. Then, several figures jumped out of the black hole. The extermination team was about to make a move on the Ant King. In the palace, King Meruem was still playing chess with Komugi. The two guards, Poof and Naro, were waiting by the king's side. At this time, Allan controlled his Heaven's Eye and arrived outside the hall. From the distance, he could see the Ant King playing chess with a human girl. Allan recognized the girl at a glance. She was the runny-nosed girl named Komugi. Before Caesar came to report to Meruem, the latter noticed the gaze peeping at him. However, to everyone's surprise, the Ant King didn't pay attention to Heaven's Eye. He was still focused on playing chess with Komugi and didn't care about being spied on. No, it's not that he didn't care, but playing chess with Komugi was more important to him. Caesar saw this but didn't disturb him, because he knew that if he talked now, the king won't be happy. Therefore, he had no choice but to turn his attention to the other guards, Poof and Noro. Noro knew what Caesar wanted to report because he also noticed the strange aura. Poof glanced at Noro sharply without saying anything. Noro nodded and quietly left the Ant King's side. As soon as he was out, Noro enveloped the entire hall with his N. Over there. Noro locked on the position of Heaven's Eye outside the main hall and attacked. But Allan was faster as he released the ability before the attack could land. As soon as Allan removed his Heaven's Eye, he explained the situation in the palace to Netero and the others. When he said that the Ant King was playing chess with a human girl named Komugi, everyone was surprised. Because, the Chimera ants can't stand humans and only see them as food, and now a human girl was playing chess with the Ant King. It seems the Ant King is different from the other ants, Netero said. So, what do we do now? Netero looked at Allan and asked, Allan, what do you think? Let me give them a surprise first, Allan said. Surprise? Everyone looked at him in confusion. Well, I will destroy the palace and force them out. At the same time, I will get rid of the ant soldiers. After I destroy the palace, you make your move. Hearing Allan's words, they were shocked. Destroy the palace? Do you know how big that place is? Can you do it? Morel expressed his doubt. Well, if it's just the palace, then it is fine, Allan said confidently. Then, go ahead, Netero said. At this time, Gon said, but what if the human girl was hurt? Kite replied, Gon, sometimes, necessary sacrifices are necessary. Gon nodded and didn't say anything. He knew that he was still a little naive and innocent. Allan said, okay, I will go now. Remember, you have to drag the guards and the Ant King out. Chairman Netero will fight against the Ant King alone. So, you have to hold the guards up. I will help you with them before joining Chairman Netero. Everyone nodded. Thunderbolt. Allan directly turned into a blue thunderbolt and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Wow! Seeing this, all people present were shocked. Gon showed great admiration, while Killua curled his lips and said, I will be able to do that in the future. On the other hand, Allan has already rushed out of the forest, then with a flash of light, he appeared 1,000 meters in the air, above the palace. Allan raised his hand and said, receive God's punishment, Elthor. This was a massive skill from the Rumble fruit. When the lightning struck down, all the soldiers were killed without exception. In the blink of an eye, a huge hole formed. This is how terrifying Allan Elthor was. The huge roar of thunder attracted the attention of the Ant King and his guards. Komugi, who was playing chess, was frightened. However, Meruem didn't stop playing the game. The three guards looked at each other with tacit understanding. They knew that the sound of thunder was from the hall in front of the palace, where the soldiers were gathered, which means that the humans are here. The guards' faces were gloomy because the humans dared to attack them so late in the night. Noro and Caesar left the hall together and went to check on the situation. Poof stayed by the king's side. What? The entire square is destroyed? The two guards who came to investigate outside were shocked when they saw the destruction. All the soldiers we stationed here are killed. It seems to be caused by a lightning strike, Noro said gloomily. Damn. Who the hell did this? Caesar looked around but he didn't see anyone. We should go back into the palace, in case those humans attacked. The two guards returned to the palace, however, they didn't go into the main hall to report, instead, they stayed on the roof. 2,000 meters above the palace, Allan floated with his thunder fruit power, looking at the destruction he caused. Now it was time to attack the palace. The palace was 3 times as big as the square that was just destroyed. So, he can't just the same attack, as it won't be effective. Therefore, to destroy the entire palace with one strike, he needed stronger lightning. At the same time, Kite and the others reached the palace but didn't get too close. When they saw the square destroyed, their eyes widened. Although they didn't see how Allan did it, the power behind the strike was clear. Most of them knew that they can't cause such destruction even if they used all of their powers. It seems that Allan really has the ability to destroy the palace, Morel said. Afterward, everyone raised their heads and looked at the sky. At this time, Allan was already 3,000 meters above the palace. At this altitude, Allan was confident that the Ant King won't discover him. Even if they did discover him, they won't have enough time to rush toward him. To destroy the palace in one hit requires a very strong attack. Ordinary lightning strikes won't do, he needed something stronger. Allan released lightning from his hands toward the clouds, forming a thundercloud. In just a few seconds, the thundercloud was flashing with lightning. Damn it, what is that? Why is it only above the palace? It must be some kind of trick by those people. On the roof of the palace, Noro and Caesar looked at the thundercloud and exclaimed. Thunderclouds were powerful natural forces, even monsters like them didn't dare underestimate it. I can't think of a guy with such power in the human extermination team, Caesar said seriously. He suddenly knew how much he underestimated the power of those humans. So, the square outside was destroyed by lightning. Noro clenched his fists and raised his head. Now, they want to destroy the palace. If that thundercloud releases a lightning strike, the palace will be destroyed without a doubt, Caesar continued gloomily, and at that time, the king will be hurt. Yes, we have to find a way to stop it. Noro also realized the seriousness of the matter at hand. On the other side, Kite, Gon, and the others all noticed the thunderclouds above the palace. What's going on? It's not raining. Mankey wondered. It must be Allan's masterpiece, Killua said. He knew that Allan could use the power of lightning, so this must be it. The other was silent, although they also knew that Allan could use lightning, they didn't expect it to reach such an extent. It is almost as if he is controlling the lightning from nature. Although I don't know how he does it, it seems like he intends to destroy the palace with that thundercloud, Kite said. Morel followed. We must be prepared. Once Allan strikes, we must be ready to rush forward. Above the palace, Allan has already completed forming the thundercloud and turned his eyes toward the palace, pointed his finger down, and said, "Fall." Suddenly, a thick lightning strike flashed in the thundercloud before falling down toward the palace. On the roof, Noro and Caesar's faces changed. The latter directly jumped up and received the lightning strike on his body. The powerful lightning strike slammed on his body with devastating power. Everyone from the extermination team witnessed this scene and opened their mouths in shock. The monster called Caesar actually used his body to block that lightning strike. Above the thundercloud, Allan witnessed Caesar's actions and was slightly surprised. As expected of a royal guard, he can actually block that powerful lightning with his flesh. It looks like that guy is the same as Yuppie, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to resist a lightning strike of that scale. Allan's mouth curled into a smile. The stronger they were, the more he wanted to fight. But right now, he shouldn't be in a hurry, the main event didn't start yet. His current goal is to create a thundercloud with enough power to strike down the palace and force Meruem out. Killing the royal guards can wait. Caesar's clothes turned to ashes, revealing his monstrous body. His body contained just 10% of humans' genes and the rest was from monsters. This is why he had an amazing healing factor as well as strong brute force. As long as he isn't decapitated or destroyed, he won't die. As long as I'm here, you worms can't think of destroying the palace or hurting the king, Caesar roared at the dark sky. He was talking about Allan and the rest of the humans there. However, Allan was about 3,000 meters above the ground, so he couldn't hear Caesar at all due to the roaring thunder around him. Otherwise, he would have come down and killed him first. Kite and others, on the other hand, heard Caesar and were shocked. Despite such a distance, Caesar's roar carried some oppression. All of them, Netero excluded, could tell that this monster was too strong, and may even be able to kill them with just his roars. Of course, if they are prepared, they wouldn't die, and this time, they were indeed prepared. They won't back down unless they eradicate the chimera ants. At this time, everyone heard a crackling sound of lightning and looked at the sky. A huge bolt of lightning struck down at a building inside the palace. The palace covers a huge area, and had many buildings. One of them was destroyed just now. Bastard! On the roof of another building, Caesar clenched his fists. Just a second ago, he declared that no one will destroy the palace as long as he is there, and a second later, a building fell. This is simply getting slapped hard. However, it also made him realize that what he blocked was just the first lightning from the thundercloud, and more are on their way. The other guard, Noro, who was standing beside Caesar, frowned. Noro didn't imagine a human could possess the ability to control the force of nature. At this moment, 2 lightning bolts quickly fell down from the sky. 2 buildings were destroyed. Not only did the building fall, but the lightning caused them to burn. And the flames started spreading. Afterward, lightning strikes kept falling down one after the other, destroying everything in their path. The number of lightning strikes caused Caesar and Noro to be dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, the thundercloud could release thunder continuously. At first, it was just 1, then 2, then 4. If this continues, within 2 minutes, the entire palace would be destroyed. At this time, the thundercloud Allan made filled the sky. It covered dozens of kilometers with the palace at the center. Theoretically, as long as the thundercloud remained, lightning bolts will continue to strike down on the palace. Boom. Boom. The dark sky was illuminated blue by lightning, and in just a few minutes, several buildings were destroyed in the palace. No matter how powerful the 2 guards were, they couldn't defend against that large number of lightning bolts. Seeing the destruction caused by Allan, the guards were gloomy. Damn it! Caesar's eyes were red and blue veins covered his forehead in anger. The human's actions made him furious. Half the palace was destroyed. Noro knew that defending the entire palace was impossible, and said, "I will go to the main hall to protect His Majesty, you stay here." Caesar nodded and raised his head to stare at the thundercloud in the sky. He understood that as long as the thundercloud existed, it will continue releasing lightning bolts to no end. The chimera ants are territorial creatures, and when someone attacks their territory, they won't tolerate it. I have to kill the person who created the thundercloud. Caesar clenched his fists and a large amount of nen gushed out of his body. In a few seconds, a pair of crimson wings manifested behind him. Since Caesar's body contained a large number of magical creatures' genes, he can change the shape of his body. He wanted to rush toward the sky and deal with the one behind the thundercloud. "Damn you, I'm coming for you, bastard!" When Caesar flapped his wing, he instantly flew toward the dark clouds in the sky. On the other hand, Noro arrived above the hall where the king was still playing chess. At this moment, thunder roared in the sky as lightning bolts struck down on the main hall. Boom! A powerful nen released from Noro's body, and in a blink of an eye, he turned into a giant claws beast and directly met the lightning bolt head-on. The giant claws beast claws countered the lightning bolt and only suffered slight burns. The sloth's claws were so hard that even lightning couldn't hurt them much. As a royal guard, Noro's body was also mixed with magical creatures' genes. And amongst those genes, their 50% belonged to a giant claws beast. One of this creature's characteristics was its giant claws, which can protect it against most attacks. The arms wielding those claws were extremely strong, granting a powerful attack to this magical creature. Noro, since he had 50% of the creature's genes, was also granted his claws. With Nen, he could transform his body and form the claws willingly. "With me here, the king will never be hurt." Facing the falling lightning, Noro's other hand formed another claw to defend. The claw almost granted absolute defense for Noro. At this time, the king finally stopped playing chess with Komugi. "Take Komugi here out of the palace, it's no longer safe here," the Ant King said with an indifferent face. Poof also knew about the situation outside and respectfully said, "My king, you should go as well." "No, I want to stay and deal with those guys, you take Komugi and leave." "As you order, my king." Poof didn't dare say anything else as he obeyed the king's orders. He went toward Komugi and said, "Let's go, Komugi." Then he gracefully picked her, but he didn't like Komugi even one bit, he was even hostile. He didn't understand why the king, who was normally hostile to humans, was concerned about such a frail weak human being like Komugi. The king even ordered him, a royal guard, to escort her to safety and protect her. That isn't something the king he knew would do. The Ant King is supreme and shouldn't care about a human being, or so thought Poof. But he had to admit that the Ant King had a special place for Komugi in his heart. "His Majesty asked me to protect her and not let her leave. Is it because he wants to defeat her in chess?" Poof guessed, but he didn't ask. He just obeyed the order and took Komugi away. Before leaving, Komugi turned to Meruem and asked, "King Sama, can we still play together in the future?" The king didn't answer, but he looked at Komugi with tenderness. "Komugi, wait for me." Meruem thought, but he said seriously, "We'll play again when I'm done, Komugi." During the games with Komugi, the king's character changed a lot. The Ant King held Komugi dearly in his heart. Although she wasn't strong physically, the power she had in chess was something even he, the Chimera Ant King, recognized. "I will wait for you, King Sama, you must stay safe," Komugi said. In fact, although Komugi couldn't see due to her blindness, she can still hear everything clearly. She could hear the thunder coming from outside, and it wasn't ordinary. The palace was under attack and many buildings were destroyed. However, she couldn't do anything about it, and could only look forward to playing chess with Meruem again. After that, Poof took Komugi and left with her. Watching Komugi leave, Meruem's face turned gloomy and his aura exploded from his body. If those humans didn't wreak havoc, then he could be still playing chess with Komugi, but they had to interfere and stop the game. His only thoughts currently were to slaughter the humans. Poof flew in the sky with Komugi quickly, as he was eager to return to the king's side. This made him unaware that Morel noticed him along with the others outside the palace. When Poof flew over the destroyed square, he suddenly stopped as the entire place was covered in smoke, which seemed strange. "This is..." Poof frowned. The smoke wasn't a product of flames, and it just appeared there. When Poof wanted to pass through, he found that the smoke was like a wall, blocking his way. Poof immediately realized that this was not normal smoke, but an inability. It was here to prevent the Chimera Ants from leaving the palace. "The humans now know I'm here then?" Poof thought, but he didn't hesitate and turned around and flew to another part of the square. As the most intelligent of the royal guards, Poof knew that it wasn't time to engage in battle with the humans. Although they were annoying, they weren't ordinary people, but a capable team of strong Nen users. It would take time to deal with them, but he had no such time to waste here. The most urgent task is carrying the king's order, to take Komugi to safety. The smoke covered a large area, which means that the humans prepared for this for a while now. Poof wanted to find another way out, but as soon as he moved, he noticed that the white smoke formed a cage and trapped him from going all directions but above. Seeing this, Poof snorted coldly. Poof calmed down and looked at the sky. But he suddenly found that the smoke started covering him from above as well, which blocked every path he had. The square was completely enveloped in smoke, forming a huge cage. In desperation, Poof could only rely on his wings to temporarily stay in midair. "Is everything alright, Poof-san?" Komugi felt that Poof stopped moving and asked. Poof didn't answer, since the king wasn't here, he was too lazy to answer Komugi. If it wasn't for the king's orders, he would have dropped her right now. Although Komugi can't see, she can feel the indifference from Poof. So she wisely didn't ask again. She understood that Poof wasn't the same as the Ant King, he doesn't like her, but that was not a problem, since she hates herself as well. In order to get out of the cage as soon as possible, Poof released his Nen. Although he didn't have anyone to train him in Nen, he still learned the N. He was second only to the Ant King when it comes to Nen usage. Just when Poof released his Nen, he felt a dangerous Sora approaching him. It was undoubtedly a human. With a move from his wing, Poof dodged the sneak attack. Poof could tell that there is someone in the smoke, even without seeing him. Don't hide, I can feel your location with Nen, a sneak attack is useless against me. Hearing Poof's sentence, Morel carrying his pipe came out from the smoke. Poof's eyes were fixed on Morel. He knew that the one who attacked him just now wasn't this guy, but he didn't say anything. He knew that there are other humans hidden in the smoke, waiting for an opportunity to attack. But Poof wasn't worried, since he was confident that they can't sneak upon him. Human, did you make the smoke? Poof stared at Morel and asked. That's right, what you see is made by this big pipe, Morel admitted. This was his Nen ability, Smoky Jail. As the name implies, it creates a jail made of smoke. Morel could control the smoke to form various shapes as he did currently by forming a cage to trap Poof. Poof stared at Morel and said, Human, do you know how serious the consequences are going to be for trapping me here? The most you could do is kill me. Morel smiled lightly. Obviously, Morel was already prepared to die by coming here. Therefore, he didn't feel any fear. Human, if you remove the smoke and let me go, I will spare your life, Poof said. In the end, he added, of course, this includes your companions, but the guy who attacked me, and didn't dare come out will die. In that case, I can't let you leave. Morel smiled before becoming serious. Poof knew there was another person in the smoke, and Morel knew he was talking about Knuckle. Knuckle was currently using Zetsu while hiding in the smoke, so he could hide from Poof and wait for an opportunity to attack. As for Morel, his task is to use the smoke to trap Poof and hold him back as much as possible. Do you think you can trap me here? Seeing that Morel didn't plan to remove the smoke, Poof's killing intent exploded out of his body. If it wasn't for Morel's strong mentality, he would have been defeated just from the killing intent. Poof coldly snorted, I think you need a considerable degree of Nen to maintain this smoke. Morel was silent because what Poof said was true, every minute he had to consume about 1% of his Nen. He could maintain the cage for half an hour while fighting, or else he would be too tired. 30 minutes is his limit, and that period of time wasn't that long, except for Poof who wanted to execute his king's order as fast as possible. Therefore, he couldn't just wait for that, and in the end, he attacked Morel. Morel was ready to fight and directly defended using his pipe. Poof moved quickly with his butterfly wings as he attacked Morel. After 10 moves, Morel was hit and knocked back. He's strong. Morel frowned. As a senior hunter, Morel was confident in his skills even though he wasn't good at fighting. But Poof was stronger and faster than him. Morel realized that he won't be able to stop Poof alone. At this moment, Poof already appeared in front of him again, and boom. Morel has knocked back again and slammed against the smoke. Before he could calm down, Poof rushed forward again. When Morel saw this, he just rolled over, in an embarrassing way to avoid Poof's kick. That's dangerous. Morel breathed a sigh of relief as he avoided the kick, but Poof once again appeared in front of him. Without any way to avoid it, Morel could only wave his pipe and smash it at Poof. Poof sneered and directly kicked Morel and sent the pipe flying. Morel's face changed as he didn't expect Poof's power to be so great. Before he could react, he was slapped in the face and his body flew toward the smoke. Morel spat a mouthful of blood. He's strong, even if with Ken, I wasn't able to completely defend. This guy is a monster. Morel was serious now. Sure enough, with my power, I can only trap him here, it's impossible to fight him. Poof couldn't fully exert his power while holding Komugi, but even then, he can still fight Morel. After all, no matter how much Poof appeared weak, he was still one of the king's guards. Morel had almost no strength to fight back and could only rely on the smoke to escape. In this kind of terrain, he could dodge Poof as much as he wanted. "Humph, besides trapping me here, do you have anything else? I'm disappointed," Poof sneered. Smoke fist. Morel blew his pipe and a huge fist formed behind Poof. Boom. The fist hit Poof from behind, however, it was too weak to cause any damage to Poof. Smoke spear. In order to increase the power of the smoke, Morel used it to condense a long spear and stabbed at Poof. Poof easily dodged and attacked Morel again. Purple haze soldiers. Facing Poof's attack, Morel dodged by making a few smoke clones and retreated before making a small cage and locking Poof inside. Poof was helpless for a while since the smoke was indestructible. Seeing Morel locked up, Morel breathed a sigh of relief and sat down on the ground. Using the smoke caused him to consume too much energy. The trapped Poof wasn't angry, he had a calm expression on his face. Morel saw him flapping his wings rapidly, and a powder-like substance spread out. Once the powder is inhaled, it can hypnotize his opponent. This is one of his Nen abilities, spiritual message. Although Morel didn't know about the hypnotic effect, he was well aware of the danger. At least, he knew that he needed to make sure not to inhale the powder. He didn't know if it was poison or something else, but he knew it was dangerous. All in all, he was vigilant and didn't inhale the powder. In fact, the scales didn't just have a hypnotic effect. Once they come in contact with someone's aura flow, they make it more distinct, allowing Poof to analyze the blend of 30 emotional patterns and, through them, formulate conjectures about the opponent's psychological state, personality, and thoughts, so he can formulate strategies accordingly. With the scales, Poof could sense Morel's emotions, which were alertness, awareness, and confidence. Alertness meant he was alert against the scales and the danger it posed. Awareness meant that he was aware that he can die at any moment here and was ready for it. Confidence meant that he was confident about the smoke he created. The ratio was 2, 3, and 5. With alertness as the lowest 20%, and awareness at 30%. This was because Morel thought that Poof is trapped inside the cage and so he dropped his guard. "Human, let me tell you my name. I'm Shy Poof, one of the royal guards of His Majesty, the King." While Poof was inside the cage and unable to get out temporarily, he decided to introduce himself to Morel. Morel didn't reply as he sat down on the ground with his pipe, his eyes fixed on Poof. Through the scale powder, Poof found out that Morel's Nen had new fluctuations. Alertness was 20% before, but now, it was 40%. In other words, he is more cautious and doesn't want to reveal anything about himself, not even his name. Thinking about this, Poof said, "Human, do you think I'm introducing myself to deliberately make you speak and inhale the scale powder? If you think so, it's a misunderstanding on your part. It doesn't matter to me if you tell me or not, I'm not interested anyway." However, Morel's thinking was right. Poof was trying to make Morel speak and inhale the scale powder and hypnotize him. But Morel was too cautious and didn't want to open his mouth at all. He also used smoke to wrap his entire body, forming a protective suit with only his eyes exposed. With the protective suit, Morel didn't increase his defense but prevented the scale powder from getting to him. In order to make Morel breathe in the scale powder, Poof spoke again. "Human, aren't you curious about this human girl beside me?" Morel glanced at Komugi on the ground and said nothing. Because Allan already told him about Komugi. Not only that, but Morel also learned from Allan that Komugi had a special place in the Ant King's heart. He also told him not to hurt her if unnecessary. Therefore, Morel's emotions didn't even flicker at Poof's words. Through the powder, Poof could tell that Morel wasn't even slightly curious about Komugi. In other words, Komugi didn't qualify as a bargaining chip. Originally, Poof wanted to threaten Morel with Komugi's safety and make him release the smoke gauge. But unfortunately, Morel didn't care about the girl. Therefore, even if Poof threatened him to lift the smoke or she dies, he would let her die without a second thought. And Poof also knew he can't really kill Komugi. Not only did not kill her, but he had to protect her. This is Poof's current mission. Therefore, Poof could only think of other ways to get out of the smoke. Human, do you think that mere smoke can stop me? The next moment, Poof released his nen. A black aura surrounded Poof, forming a black shell. Morel was extremely alert at this development as he didn't know what the shell is. Meanwhile at the palace. Boom. Boom. It has been 3 minutes since Allan made the thunderclouds, and currently, the entire palace was destroyed. Every single building was in ruins and finally, the thunderclouds disappeared since it completed its mission. The Ant King and Noro left the palace before it collapsed. King, I'm sorry, I failed to protect the palace. Noro knelt on one knee in front of Meruem. The Ant King looked expressionlessly and said, I know that you've done your best. King, what should I do now? Please give an order. Noro asked. The king didn't say a thing as he looked at the sky. Although it was dark, the king could see a figure 1,000 meters above them. The figure's body was flickering with blue electric energy. Allan also noticed the king and both stared at each other from a distance. I found him, the guy who destroyed my palace. The Ant King said. Noro also noticed Allan in the sky and said, King, Caesar already went up to take care of that guy. If I had the ability to fly, I would have gone there myself to kill him, said the Ant King. Unfortunately, the king can't fly, even if he is the strongest of the ants, he can't fly. Therefore, the Ant King couldn't attack Allan who was far up in the sky. To be able to create a thundercloud and cause such chaos, that person isn't ordinary, the king said seriously. Somehow, the king felt worried. The kind of worry that stems from facing the unknown. There is no need for worry, my king, Caesar will take care of him, Noro assured with great confidence in his companion. At this time, Allan noticed a black shadow rushing toward him quickly, and that shadow was none other than Caesar. Oh? You're worthy of being a royal guard, to actually fly to this height. Caesar fluttered his wings and rushed forward with red fists pointing at Allan. Damn you human, you're done, Caesar roared angrily. His fist seemed to pierce the air barrier as it moved toward Allan, while the latter didn't know if he would be immune if he turned into an element. Of course, Allan wasn't worried that Caesar could actually hit him, because he was much faster than the latter. It wasn't difficult to dodge, and even if he didn't, he can take the hit easily. Allan suddenly heard the notification of his system. Ding. Make a choice. 1. Retreat from the fight and don't engage with Caesar for now. Reward, 3,000 nen points. 2. Fight and kill Caesar. Reward, Senzubin. The second reward was without a doubt better, and with Allan's current power, he didn't need to retreat or escape from Caesar. Therefore, Allan picked the first option, and with a flash, he turned into lightning and easily avoided Caesar, and appeared a few meters behind him. Idiot, I'm here. Allan taunted. Seeing his attack fail, Caesar was furious as he turned around and rushed at Allan again. His wings fluttered, increasing his speed as he attacked again. Bastard! Caesar roared as he got faster and faster. However, Allan was a lightning man, so almost no one here can actually contend with speed against him. Caesar was completely outmatched as Allan dodged all of his attempts. You're too slow, can't you move faster? Allan taunted again, deliberately making Caesar angry. Damn you! Although Caesar was angry, he clearly realized that whether it was speed, reflex, or attack speed, Allan was better. He understood at that moment that even though Allan was a human, he was strong enough to fight him. So even though he was angry, he didn't attack mindlessly. Suddenly his body started changing and the 2 wings on his back became 4, which doubled his speed. Caesar waved his wings and suddenly rushed at Allan, which took the latter by surprise as he never thought this guy's speed can actually be doubled so easily. With his current speed, Caesar finally could fight with Allan head-on. Allan was finally interested in the fight now. He was no longer simply dodging attacks, but fighting back as well. Sonic booms exploded in the sky due to their fight. Caesar's method was simple, he just used his fists as weapons. He didn't have any fancy moves or complicated techniques. Simple but effective, which made him fight with all of his power. His fists were strong enough to shatter boulders and crack the ground, which is the power derived from his strong genes. This made Caesar think that as long as he hit Allan, the latter would die or at least be seriously injured. The echo of their fight reached the ground as if two gods were battling in the sky. Caesar underestimated Allan's power and thought that the latter just had lightning speed. Allan was stronger than Caesar could imagine, which made the latter very shocked and frightened. He never thought that the humans he looked down on so much could get so strong. In this fight, Allan only used his lightning powers to fight, without using any other power. He used neither Haki nor any other powers. The abilities he has shown till now were just the tip of the iceberg, and if Caesar knew, he would go crazy. Boom. After exchanging strikes hundreds of times, Caesar finally was kicked by Allan. The kick was strong enough to send Caesar 100 meters back before he spat a mouthful of blood. Caesar's eyes opened in disbelief. A mere human could make him bleed. Ah! Nen exploded out of Caesar's body as the shame turned into fury and wrath. The Nen released was crimson red with a vicious feel to it. It seems that Caesar turned completely into a monster. He was faster than before. His power almost doubled. Caesar turned into a crimson light before he instantly appeared in front of Allan. Caesar punched. Allan didn't shy away and met him with a punch of his own. However, this time, Allan was pushed back, but without any injuries. Allan could tell that Caesar was stronger, far stronger than before, and all of this was due to his wrath and fury. With anger, his Nen became stronger along with his body. This was Caesar's unique ability as a royal guard, the power of wrath. At this moment, Caesar once again attacked. Allan snorted coldly, "You're overestimating yourself." Thunder explosion. Blue electric current circled Allan's fist as it met with Caesar's. The electric current directly passed through Allan's palm into Caesar's body, covering him in electric sparks. He hovered in the air with an open mouth as he was temporarily paralyzed. His right fist was dripping with blood. "Damn human, you dare hurt me again." Caesar was furious. Disregarding his injured hand, he angrily rushed toward Allan. Allan dodged his attacks one after the other before saying coldly, "You're indeed fast, but unfortunately, you're far behind me." Allan counterattacked. 50 million volt. Allan's wrist transformed into lightning and a bolt broke out and slammed into the angry ant. Although Caesar was vigilant, he wasn't fast enough to dodge the thunderbolt. With a bang, Caesar's body was covered in lightning. The high voltage made Caesar grimace in pain. After a few seconds, the numbness subsided. Caesar wasn't seriously injured, but his reaction speed decreased by a large margin. Is this the influence of the lightning? Caesar frowned. "What's wrong, are you afraid?" Allan appeared 10 meters away from Caesar. At such a close distance, Caesar was confident in rushing in front of his opponent and launching a quick attack. As soon as he finished thinking, he moved instantly and decisively. Allan was prepared as he appeared close to Caesar deliberately. Caesar's fist quickly moved toward Allan, who already punched at the former with hands full of lightning. Boom. Boom. Caesar's red Nen and Allan's blue lightning formed a sphere and lightened the dark sky. It was a confrontation between two races, a battle of supremacy. The next second, Caesar's body flew out of the sphere. He couldn't stop himself from moving back hundreds of meters. After finally stopping using his four wings, his face appeared quite pale. His nose, ears, and mouth overflowed with purple blood. Because of this injury, his body seemed to become unstable. Damn it, why is this guy so strong? Caesar was a royal guard of the Ant King. He didn't believe that a mere human could confront him using power. But after he used everything, he was indeed pushed away and suffered quite the injuries as well. In other words, Allan was capable of killing him. Of course, if it was just pure physical power, Allan wouldn't be his match. After all, he is limited to the power of the human body. However, after using the rumble fruit, Allan's strength surpassed Caesar's. At this moment, Caesar's body once again changed, his wings fused together and turned into huge dark red wings. His arms multiplied and 4 new ones appeared, which counts as 6 arms now. This is Caesar's new form, the 6-armed, 2-winged devil. His speed increased along with his power. This is my final form, you're dead, human. Caesar's face was hideous, and his body released a very terrifying aura. With a flap of his wings, Caesar rushed toward Allan with extreme speed, and 3 hands punched directly, causing gusts of wind to reach Allan before the fists. Allan felt Caesar's change and became serious. With the speed of the rumble fruit and observation hockey, Allan completely predicted Caesar's moves and dodged them. Caesar's attack continued, but no matter what he did, he couldn't touch Allan. Even when his speed and power increased exponentially, he still couldn't match lightning speed. Allan's speed seemed faster than lightning due to the fact he predicted Caesar's attacks, which prevented the latter from coming close to landing a hit. Damn it, ah! Caesar's wings vibrated as he accelerated toward Allan, as he couldn't think straight and wanted to kill Allan at all cost. Allan didn't dodge this time, no, it would be better to say that he was too lazy to do so. Looking at Caesar rushing toward him, he raised his right hand emotionlessly. Lightning flickered in his wrist as it slammed toward Caesar, who didn't expect this at all. The lightning scorched Caesar's body black. Obviously, this attack dealt considerable damage to the royal guard. Okay, let's get rid of this guy quickly. Allan looked at the injured Caesar in the distance as thought. With a flash, he appeared in front of Caesar, and with an open palm, he struck. Lightning palm. Such a close-up high-voltage strike caused serious injury to Caesar, who spat purple blood. Each time he was struck by lightning, his reflex and speed were reduced. 60 million volt, Vari. Boom. Caesar's body was completely paralyzed for a short time, he wasn't able to move a muscle. He started falling down, however, Allan didn't stop attacking. He wanted to take care of Caesar here, since once the latter returned to the ground, the king will be waiting and it will be troublesome to get rid of Caesar. 60 million volt, laser. Laser formed in Allan's hand as he shot it toward Caesar, instantly severing his hands. However, even so, Caesar was still alive. His body was that powerful and his defenses were that strong. It wasn't easy to kill him. Allan didn't stop attacking as lightning attacks continued forming and hitting Caesar's body. The flashes of lights seemed like shooting stars from down below. Noro could see Caesar being beaten and crushed without any power to fight back. When the Ant King saw this, he clenched his fists. The power Allan showed made him want to fight, and his blood boiled with battle intent. I didn't imagine that amongst the humans, there is someone that strong. Meruem sighed, amazed by the display of power the human showed. Noro, standing beside his king, looked at this scene gloomily. "King, let me do it," Noro said. Hearing this, the Ant King glanced at Noro and said, "To be honest, you're not his opponent." "No, King, I will definitively kill that guy," Noro assured. The king said coldly, "I'm afraid that I can't believe you. You as strong as Caesar, and now, you could see what happened to Caesar." Soon, Noro noticed that there was a huge cloud of smoke on the other side of the palace. The smoke enveloped the entire destroyed square. He noticed it for a while now, but he didn't leave the king's side. But right now, he smelled something strange but familiar. "Is Poof trapped in the smoke?" Noro frowned. When he tried to get close to the cloud of smoke to see what was inside, he found that the smoke was substantial, not just gas. Really, the humans have some troublesome abilities. Noro frowned, as this cloud of smoke was obviously not simple. Since he can't get in normally, he will just break through. Taking a deep breath, Noro raised his hand, which changed into a giant claw as he tore a hole inside. But soon, the smoke closed the torn opening. Meanwhile, inside the cage, Poof split his body into thousands of clones. Each clone was the size of a cell. He slowly but surely moved out of the smoke cage Morel set. After successfully escaping the cage, Poof formed his body once again. As for Komugi, she was still inside the smoke cage. Although his orders were to take Komugi to safety, at the moment, Poof was more concerned about the king's safety. Moreover, he believed that the humans won't endanger Komugi since she was a human as well. Thinking about this, Poof decided to return to the Ant King's side. Seeing the palace destroyed and the king not there, the only thought Poof had was to find his king. The usually calm Poof was in a state of self-blame as he felt that he failed his duty as the king's guard. The only thought he had right now was to find the king as soon as possible and protect him. Absolutely nothing can happen to the king, no matter what or who he had to face, he won't let anything happen. Just as Poof was going to find the king, he saw Noro trying to destroy the smoke cage below. He quickly moved to his side and asked eagerly, "Why are you here, Noro? Where is the king?" Seeing Poof, Noro breathed a sigh of relief and said, "I thought you were trapped inside and came to save you." Poof replied, "I was indeed trapped inside, but I got out." "I see." Noro nodded. "You didn't answer me, where is the king?" asked Poof again. "The king is preparing to fight," Noro replied. "What did you say?" Poof frowned. Noro said again, "The king preparing to deal with the humans who destroyed the palace by himself. He wants to fight him one-on-one." "A one-on-one duel?" Poof was surprised. How could a human face the king alone? Noro shrugged and said, "That's the truth, king wanted to fight him." "What?" Poof was even more surprised. The Supreme King was provoked by a mere human, this was absurd. "I wanted to stay by the king's side, but the king asked me to deal with the other intruders and didn't let me stay there," Noro sighed. Obviously, he wanted to stay by his king's side. "What about Caesar?" Poof asked. Noro was about to answer, but suddenly a loud bang stopped him. Afterward, Poof and Noro saw a figure falling to the ground into a huge pit. "Who was that who fell down from the sky?" Poof asked. He had a very bad feeling about this. "It's Caesar," Noro said with a gloomy face. "What?" Poof was a little surprised. Poof was trapped in the smoke cage and didn't see what happened outside, including Caesar going after Allan and the fight afterward. Caesar was completely crushed by Allan and the sorry sight in front of him was the result of that. Above the sky, another flash of lightning struck down into the pit Caesar was inside. "Damn, that guy wants to kill Caesar." Noro clenched his fists angrily. "What are you still doing? Go up and help," Poof said urgently. "No, I can't go over there," Noro replied. "Why?" Poof couldn't believe his ears and asked, "Are you afraid?" Noro shook his head and said, "That guy who defeated Caesar, is also the one who destroyed the palace." Poof immediately understood and said seriously, "That is to say, that guy is the king's target, right?" "That's right, the king said he will take care of that guy, and our task is taking care of the other humans," Noro explained. Hearing this, Poof stayed silent for a while before saying, "Okay then, let's take care of those guys as soon as possible and get back to the king's side." As a result, Poof and Noro started the humans there. Their targets were everyone except Allan. At this moment, the first guy Poof wanted to kill was Morel. Right now, Morel was still staring at the shell left by Poof inside the cage. After a while, he finally realized that something was wrong. Because he didn't feel any aura from Poof's body inside the cage. Along with Poof's shell, there was Komugi who is currently unconscious. Morel didn't know how Poof escaped, but he could only regroup with the others. He also knew that it was basically impossible to trap Poof again. Morel directly contacted Nav with his phone, and the latter opened his four-dimensional mansion to take him in. Following that, Morel lifted the smoke and was about to leave with Knuckle and Shoot. Seeing the smoke lifting, Poof and Noro moved quickly to attack Morel. Before, they couldn't attack because the smoke prevented them from entering, but now, the smoke is gone and they can attack. The three of them immediately discovered Poof and Noro rushing toward them. "Master, here they come," Knuckle said. When Morel saw this, he immediately took his pipe and planned on making the smoke once again. However, Poof and Noro were too fast. Almost a second and they already were in front of the three. When Morel saw this, he could only wave his pipe in a hurry. Poof sneered and easily moved sideways before kicking Morel and snatching his pipe. "This is bad." Morel couldn't make the smoke without his pipe, which means he was deprived of his Nen ability. "Master." Knuckle and Shoot were furious when they saw their master kicked and his weapon snatched away. However, before they could move and support him, Noro was already in front of them with his giant claw hands and tried to grab both of them. Both immediately moved back. "I will deal with both of you," Noro said with murderous eyes. Knuckle and Shoot's expression turned gloomy. The Nen displayed by the guards was too powerful, both of them combined couldn't hope to match this monster. The two of them knew if they don't fight together, all of them will perish here. "Master, hold on, we will help you soon." Knuckle and Shoot, who were blocked by Noro, instantly released their Nen in order to support Morel as soon as possible. Shoot was in charge of the support and Knuckle was the head-on attacker. The two cooperated with each other to deal with Noro. Morel on the other side got up and saw Poof in front of him. "Humph, without your pipe, you can't create smoke and trap me," Poof sneered. "Damn. Give that back." Morel tried to snatch the pipe back, but he couldn't match Poof. Poof once again kicked Morel. Although he wasn't built for offense, Poof was still strong as one of the king's guards. Morel used Ken to defend against the kick. He was still sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood.